Hello. I was just watching a testimony by this girl on YouTube, and wow, it reminded me a lot of my own testimony. At least part of it did. But although I was raised in church when I was a kid, and I was told about Jesus all my life, and that He died for my sins, and um, I just didn't believe it. I didn't believe in God or heaven or hell or any of it. And I remember all through my life growing up, I wondered if God was real. And if He was, I wanted to know, but I didn't really ever search. I just, in my mind, I wondered. And so I, in on July 4th of 1995, I got drunk and I was a bad alcoholic. Got drunk and stole somebody's truck. Got caught. Went to prison for a year for stealing. And while I was in there, got drunk, and it's a whole nother story. I won't get into that, but um, 10 hours after I drank it, they finally took me to the hospital because I wasn't getting any better. I was just continuing to get worse and worse. And so 10 hours later, after because I just blacked out within just maybe 10 minutes because I drank a lot within about probably 30 seconds. No kidding, probably a couple gallons. I don't know, but it was 70 proof, I think, or 70% maybe. Anyway, 35%, 70 proof. That's what it was. I remember now. I don't know how I remember that, but anyway, um, I guess God did that because yeah, so I could share it with you guys how awesome He is. Um, But so 10 hours later, I woke up. That's the first thing I remember after drinking all that. 10 hours later, I woke up and and the reason I know it was 10 hours later is because it was lunch. It was around noon. We were having lunch when I did it. I woke up and it was 10 something at night. Somewhere I saw a clock, or maybe I asked the guy, but I was on an ambulance at 10 o'clock at night, and the EMS guy that was in there in that ambulance with me was looking down at me, and he's like, "Your blood alcohol content right now is 0.36." He said 0.37 is comatose. I cannot believe you are alive and awake right now. He said, because this is 10 hours later. It was probably way higher before that. And so anyway, something about him saying that just really struck me. And it's odd because that's the only part. I barely remember being in the hospital. But I remember when I got back to the prison, because before I could go to sleep, they made me clean out the cell that they had put me in the day before. And it had vomit everywhere. I had to clean the whole cell out and go take a shower, and then I went and slept in that same cell. And they left me in there they fed me and everything, took care of me, but I was locked in that cell for like 2 weeks. They wouldn't let me back out in population. It might have been longer, but anyway, during that time, I started praying, and and here's the reason why, because I remember thinking, maybe there's a God, because I just survived once again. See, I had been suicidal most of my life, and well, teenage years up until this point. I tried to kill myself several times, um, but didn't believe in the Lord, and didn't believe in God, didn't believe in heaven or hell. But I was just wondering if there was a God. I wasn't even ready for heaven and hell and Jesus and all that. I was just wondering, okay, if there's a God, I'm going to find out, because I remember thinking, okay, I just survived something miraculous again, and all these times I never died killing myself. I always somehow managed to stay alive. And when I was on my 21st birthday, I flipped my truck 6 times, going as fast as a Chevy S10 goes, and walked away with a bloody nose. That was it. My friend didn't even get hurt. He was with me. And and I shot up cocaine one time, and it stopped my heart around that same time, maybe 22 years old. And it killed me that time. But my friend that gave me the shot actually gave me mouth to mouth, and I came back to life. Well, the cool story about that is that same guy, years later, after I got saved, God tells me, I just felt it in my heart, stop at the Sonic, Chris. And I was like, what? I'm trying to save my money, Lord. I don't think that's you, but I just felt it in my spirit. I say God, usually when I say God speaks to me, it's a feeling that I have. I can just feel it in my heart, in my spirit to do it. So I was like, okay, and I pull in there, and immediately I heard this guy's voice, the one that had given me the shot years ago. I heard his voice, and he was beside me ordering food at Sonic. And I just, I couldn't believe it, man. I jumped in the car with him. I just jumped in the car with him. He was like, what are you doing, man? Oh, it's you, man. Where'd you, and so anyway, he tells me that he's been clean for I don't know how long, but he's a part of the kids, does something with the kids at church, and he goes to church, and he's a believer as well, and it's just awesome, man. I was like, so anyway, I just had to throw that in there. But but I came back to life, and he gave me mouth to mouth, and I came back to life, and so it was just awesome. And so I started thinking about all this stuff, and I was like, maybe there is a God, and maybe he's even got a plan for my life. I remember thinking that. And so I started reading the Bible, and I started praying, and when they let me back out in population again with the rest of the people that were in prison, I started going to church in Bible study, which they had almost every night, several days a week, maybe every night. It was quite a bit, I remember. But I went to everything they had. I just was hungry, man. I wanted to find out if there's a God. I wanted to know, and I remember saying in my heart, I'm going to find out while I'm in here, one way or another, So one night, this preacher was he was getting ready to pray. We all had our eyes closed. We were standing up in a circle. There was, 6 or 8 of us. We all had our eyes closed, and the preacher said something, and it was just like I knew he was talking to me, and I couldn't believe it either. And what he said, if there's anybody in here that doesn't believe in God and wants to know him, raise your hand. And when he said that, I was just like, man, I can't believe that. So I raised my hand, and I'm telling you, I know this is going to sound weird because it sounded weird. I can feel that same feeling that some of you probably are feeling right now as you're watching this, because I've had that same feeling before as well, because I wasn't a believer when people would tell me about the Lord and stuff. But anyway, it was like the power of God hit me with his love and revelation in a way that it set me free from myself, because all this knowledge everything that I had been told about the Bible, heaven, hell, Jesus dying for my sins, I heard all that all my life. Most of my family were Christians, and so I had heard that all my life, and it just became real to me. Like, I've known ever since that instant when I raised my hand, I've known ever since that the whole Bible was true. And just the thought of that, or it might have just been the power of his love and his presence on me, I'm not sure, but I fell down like on my knees and bawled like a baby. I cried tears of joy. I remember thinking, I've never had this before. In my whole life, I had never, and I was 20-something years old, I have never cried tears of joy in my whole entire life, because I knew that I was going to heaven. When I raised my hand, that was an expression to God that I accept you, please forgive me, all of that. Nobody had to pray for me. Nobody had to I'm not saying all this, that's good, that's great. We should pray for people, that just come to the Lord, but nobody needed to, because God saves people in different ways. But this is how he saved me, and it was miraculous, powerful. It was, I remember when I stood up, that one of the first things I thought about, besides heaven, I just couldn't believe that heaven is real and I'm going to go there someday. God forgave me from all of my sins because of what Jesus did for me on the cross. I knew all that instantly. I just knew it was true with every part in my being. Nobody could ever take that away from me, ever. And there's nothing that could ever, I've never had a doubt about that ever again since that day. And I'm 47, I think, 46 or 47, I believe, years old now. So, anyway, I stood up, and one of the first things I thought of is, I'm not going to be depressed anymore. I had been depressed since a teenager. I mean, like suicidal depression. And now it was just lifted, and I felt it, and I knew in my heart I would never be suicidal, or I'd never be depressed again. And I never have been depressed again. And I've been sad sometimes, life happens, but I've never been depressed. And so that day, I quit smoking, I quit cussing, I wouldn't watch TV. I couldn't even watch Passion of the Christ. I still can't. I've never have watched that movie. I still can't watch that. It's just too much for me. Too gory for me. I can't. Yeah, but anyway, they had that in prison. They showed that movie, and all these Christians were, hey, you got to watch. I tried, but I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it, man. It just wasn't for me. Anyway, man, I was so on fire for the Lord after that. I had no filter, and I didn't know. I was very annoying, I'm sure. Well, I know I was, because people told me. I wish I had that back, though, because I got a filter now. I mean, I still believe, but it's just like, some days I just wish I was like that, man, because I know the Lord's coming back, man, and what he did in my life, and the radical behavior that people saw, and the joy on me, that's what they hated most of all, because I was so full of joy that I just couldn't hold it back, and I had to let it out, and I just had to tell everybody about Jesus. How could I not do that? Whether I didn't care if people got mad or not. I just couldn't help it. And so I got to share this one thing. While I was in there, this guy, I can't remember if he was, there was a couple people that I made angry a few times, and bless them, and I'm not laughing because I think it's funny. I'm laughing just because I don't know. It's just, I still have the joy of the Lord, and I just can't contain it even now, but I'm not laughing at him. I'm laughing at what God did in the midst of that. He kept me safe, and I know my God, and he uses those things, even those things, to help those people, and he did. I know he did. But this guy, the one guy, came up to me while I was just walking down the hallway, wasn't talking to nobody, just minding my own business. Well, he walks right up to me and gets right in my face, and his face is red, and he is ready to fight. And he was ready to do more than that. He looked me right in the eye, and he said, I'm going to kill you, boy. He said it loud, and he wasn't joking. And I knew he wasn't joking. But the first thing I thought of was, I knew he was serious. I knew he was going to kill me. And the thought of dying at that moment brought so much joy, I couldn't help but start laughing. I was not laughing at him. I was just laughing because I knew I was getting ready to go to heaven, and it just overwhelmed me. I just started laughing uncontrollably, and then the Lord sobered me up a little bit, but he spoke to me. The Lord just spoke to my heart, and he said, Chris, this guy doesn't know me. And that's all he had to say, man, and it just broke my heart. It broke my heart for that guy. That guy doesn't even know me. or doesn't even know who I know. He doesn't know my Savior, my King, my Lord, my God. And it was just like I stopped laughing, and my heart broke for his soul. And I looked him right in the eye and I said, you know what? You can kill me if you want to, but you cannot take my life from me. And when I said that, he just shook his head and, and walked away. He never messed with me again. Never talked to me, I don't think either. But that guy, I guarantee you, that probably saved him. It had a big part of it, I guarantee you, because he'll never forget that. I'm sure he's probably saved by now. He probably got saved before he even got out of there, because I got out of there, not long after that. But anyway, yeah. So thanks for listening, and I'd like to share more about all that. But yeah, I did fall away from the Lord after I got out of prison, and I'm sure you saw that in some other videos that I've posted. But yeah, I fell away from the Lord when I got out. You got to be so careful about who you hang out with. I was taking a guy to church, and actually he was smoking a cigarette, and I thought, man, I'm just gonna smoke a cigarette with him so he doesn't think I'm too prideful or religious, and so I remember how nasty it was trying to smoke that thing, and the next thing you know, I'm drinking a beer with him, and and then I feel all this guilt over it, and which I should have. I was guilty, but just the next thing you know, man, back down the hill I went, and worse than before, way worse than ever before, because now I knew the Lord, and I knew that sin leads to death, and you go to hell for that. And so I'm living in this fear of going to hell, even though I'm saved, and other people are saying, yeah, but, once saved, always saved. And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't know if that was true because, well, I found out later it's not. And because I died and went to hell after that. And so, anyway, yeah. I love you guys, and I hope this helps some people. Yeah, I would love if you got any testimonies that you'd like to share, just let me know in the comments, and I'll start reading them. I haven't read any comments since I've started making these videos, so maybe I'll go do that now. But yeah, bless you all. Take care.